Hello and welcome to UK Versus. The Better About list dropped on Tuesday, the 3rd of December, and surprising everyone, Big Bert dodged the errata yet again, and Neto Monoma got hit. And Monoma getting hit is a great proactive step by Universus, because it deals with an issue I think that had flown under the radar, especially for myself, who hadn't even considered this until Monoma got hit. If Monoma hadn't been hit, I wouldn't even gone looking for it. It was in the article as well, but I was busy at the time, so I didn't read the full article, so Monoma got hit. So as soon as I was done, I went and looked, why would Monoma get hit? And I found it myself, read the article, and Monoma was hit because of their interaction with Reiner Braun Warrior. Pre-errata Monoma, if they copied Reiner Braun, was essentially immortal. The moment their life total would hit 0, they would trigger the static ability on Reiner, which would instead flip Reiner Braun, which doesn't exist in your game state. So you just get to return to maximum health and you cannot die. Because in this game, we do as much as we can. When the effect says, if your health total would go below 1, go back up to full and do this. If we can't do it, if it's not a cost, Monoma just gets to keep healing back up to full, and essentially the only way to beat Monoma is with an alt win condition, which are few and far between, especially played in standard. So Monoma getting hit is a great proactive step by Universus to hit an issue, which although is going to very rarely show up, I think this was a great choice and that Universus need to hit this. However, the ramifications of this hit are huge. It has now opened up a massive list of characters that Monoma has great matchups into and has terrible matchups into. This one change has sent a ripple throughout retro and standard to Monoma now being a lot less and a lot more playable depending on your local scene. What do I mean by that? Well, thanks to Monoma expert Nathan Squire, I actually have a list of Monoma's wins and losses. So let's take a look at the list of Monoma wins. So there are 12 characters here which are considered wins. These are characters that Monoma will have a great match up into, either in standard or retro, depending on where they come across. And they all have static abilities that have a drawback to the character. And one of the first ones on here, Godzilla -1, initially was a terrible matchup for Monoma because Monoma would not have been able to play any of their 4 or less difficulty attacks. Now it just basically gets +2 damage to all of their attacks, and if it's blocked, their rival flips the foundation. That's all it does. It doesn't get any drawback from that. That's very, very cool. Then we have characters like Leona and Mothra, where the static ability says at the beginning of the end phase, you discard a card. Monoma now gets to cheat that. You don't have to discard cards. You just get all the abilities on the card that are enhances, blitzes, responses, but you don't get the statics. We have the biggest one is what characters had before once per turn. Now, these characters have not been errated to say all of these enhancers are once per turn. The static ability stands, which means Monoma gets to abuse them. One of the biggest ones here is Dimitri. Dimitri has the static. Each ability on this character can only be played once per turn and has 3 enhances. 1, gain 2 vitality. Enhance, your opponent's next attack this turn gets +1 difficulty. And enhance, choose one card in the card pool that does not count towards progressive difficulty for the rest of the turn. None of your cards count towards progressive. All of your opponent's attacks get +1 difficulty. And you gain 2 life on every single attack that is played when playing against Dimitri as Monoma. That is absolutely beautiful. Then we have also Raiden. Again, each of the abilities on this card can only be played once per turn. Does not count towards Monoma. Destroy one foundation, your opponent must play a non-attack as their next form, essentially turning them into a pseudo-Mandalay. Destroy one foundation, add the top card of your deck to your momentum, so you just get momentum for every single attack. And if you have 6 or fewer foundations, ready 3 of them. So as long as you're on 6 foundations, you can just keep readying 3. This was never meant to be a thing. Raiden, Melina, Deslama, Splash Woman, All Might True Form no longer gets to damage Monoma. And if you're playing All Might's in there, you're probably not, but you might have some cheeky little sideboard. Denki Kaminari 2 can now add the top card of his deck to his momentum once per turn and is allowed to use momentum abilities, can use powerful, can use EX, because the static doesn't apply anymore. The fact that statics don't apply anymore to Monoma on the copy is really, really cool, and I cannot wait to see how this gets abused in Retro. Monoma has essentially 3 months left in the meta and is unlikely to see any play, especially after this errata where he's lost his immortality. But the Retro implications, putting him into Retro, will be very, very cool. I cannot wait to see what people cook up. I'm sure Nathan is already cooking up an absolute beast of a Retro list, and I did have some back and forth with Nick Reagan about Raiden versus Monoma, and Broberg even chimed in saying that he sandbagged with Monoma before. So Monoma is already kind of viable in Retro. Giving him access to copying all these characters without any drawbacks is going to be very, very cool. And if I do make it to Worlds, I will make a Retro Monoma list and take it to see if I can knock down a few of these characters. However, the list of losses is so much bigger, especially when you're looking at a kind of standard environment. The fact that we've lost Godzilla, Kiru, Hawks, Amajiki, Mimic, Fourth Kind, Cementos, Selkie not so much, Mina 2 and Mina 3, both having damage abilities as statics. Just if you copy a Shoji or Muscular, you don't get to use the abilities. Same with the things like Levi and Kenny, you don't benefit from that extra damage because it's a static. The wall counter havers with the Irwin, Krista, and Haynes, you don't get to gain your wall counters because the static is gone. And the list of Retro losses, my boy Vega, love Vega. You don't get to pop off with Vega, you don't get to pop off with Goro. Unfortunately, you're just kind of stuck. You don't get to fully benefit as much as you would. The list of wins is a lot smaller. I was expecting the list of wins to be a lot bigger. You don't get to use Goro, which allows you to count your face down foundations as 2. You don't get to, with Vega, get that +1 speed and put -1 difficulty when you're in Desperation. In Standard, unfortunately, your 4th card that you play in a turn doesn't get the +4 damage or ignore progressive. Your hand size doesn't increase for every 3 foundations with Cementos. If you did face downs in your card pool, still count towards progressive on Demeanor, which is a real shame. You don't get momentum or from Amajiki or use an asset to pass a check with Mimic. You don't get encounters with Muscular or Shoji. You don't get to blow up foundations with Karasu or add for Hawk's feathers to your hand with Hawks at the beginning of your turn. It's a real shame. There are some very cool abilities. Not having access to that Godzilla passive, especially in the EU where Godzilla sees a lot of play. Anyone who's looking to play Monoma will now have to kind of not, because Godzilla will show up at Nationals, I can guarantee it. Monoma not being able to copy that static, just having access to spending your momentum and the first form, not being able to get +3 damage on all their 5 difficulty attacks is a huge shame. Overall, it was a very smart move. Getting rid of Immortal Monoma was absolutely crucial. Immortal Monoma could have and probably would have been a problem 5% of the times it actually shows up. You need so much to go right, but addressing a problem, even if it's just a 1% issue of a game-breaking problem, there's not much that we don't like in this game, and infinite combos, infinite life is one of them. Going infinite is something that this game does not like. So I think addressing this is a great move. I think it's shocking that this was the only thing that was addressed. Combined Firepower still exists, Burt 2 still exists, but I think it's a lack of data at this point, although we have a lot of data on Combined Firepower. This here doesn't need data. It's an interaction that, although only lasts 3 months, those 3 months include Nats and Worlds, and that is a big deal. It's a shame to see this massive list of losses. Monoma has so many issues, but those 12 times plus whatever we get in the future, that Monoma is going to be able to go, I am you, but better, is going to be so worth it. that's my coverage of the bands and erratas for December. Monoma got hit. Monoma is no longer immortal. He's back in the hole where he belongs, but I'm sure some people are still going to bring him out. What do you think about it? Do you think that Monoma should have been allowed to live because of the chances of this happening being so small? Or do you agree with myself that hitting Monoma here was actually the right choice? Because even if it's a 1% chance of a broken combo existing in this game, it should be hit. And what did they miss? What do you think UVS should have put on that ban list? Is there any cards that are causing trouble in your local meta? Are there any cards that you've identified that could be an issue at Nats? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye!